An old prophet named Samuel walks into a house in Bethlehem holding a horn of oil, and he's got one job. God said, "One of Jesse's sons is the next king. Go anoint him. Easy." Jesse has sons for days, so son number 1 walks out. Tall, handsome, built like a bronze door. Samuel goes, "Yep, that's obviously the guy." And God goes, "No." "The tall one? No. The strong one? No. This one? No. Surely this one? No." 7 sons, 7 no's. Samuel is now sweating in front of the whole family like a man who RSVP'd to the wrong wedding. "Jesse, do you have any other kids?" And Jesse goes, "Well, there's the youngest. He's out back with the sheep." The runt, the one they didn't even bother to invite to the anointing. So they drag him in, and God goes, "That's the one." Samuel pours the oil on a teenager who smells like livestock, and that kid becomes the greatest king Israel ever had. Bible Yap, Part 1. Now, here's what everybody thinks they know. David killed a giant, became king, roll credits, shepherd to throne, feel-good montage, done. Except, that's not the story. That's the trailer. Because David got anointed king as a teenager, and then didn't actually become king for around 15 years. 15 years of being hunted, living in caves, pretending to be insane, getting handed the crown on a silver platter, and refusing to grab it, not once, twice. The real story of David's rise to power isn't the giant. The giant is the easy part. The hard part is everything nobody tells you about. So let's fix that. To understand David, you have to understand the guy whose chair he's about to take. King Saul, Israel's first king. Tall, impressive, chosen by God, and also emotionally held together with wet tape. Saul keeps disobeying God, God revokes his royal warranty, and Saul is now tormented by what the text calls an evil spirit, which in ancient Israel terms means the king is having the worst mental health decade of all time, and there is no HR department. The prescription? Music. Somebody suggests a harp. And who's the best harp player in the region? Oh, you're not going to believe this. It's the sheep kid. So David gets hired to play soothing music for the exact man he's been anointed to replace. Saul loves him, makes him his armor bearer. This is the most awkward employment situation in human history. And only one of them knows it. Then a 9-foot problem shows up. Goliath of Gath, 6 cubits, and a span. That's about 9 feet, 9 inches of trash-talking Philistine. His armor alone weighs 125 pounds. His spearhead weighs 15. He struts into the valley every morning for 40 days, daring any Israelite to fight him. And Israel's entire army collectively decides to be somewhere else. Enter David, who isn't even a soldier. He's on a lunch delivery run for his brothers. He hears the giant talking smack about God and goes, "Why is nobody doing anything about this?" His oldest brother immediately does the big brother thing. "Shouldn't you be watching your little sheep?" Someone's still bitter about the oil. Saul says fine, tries to put his own armor on David. David waddles 2 steps, goes nope, and takes it all off. Instead, a sling and 5 smooth stones. Goliath sees a teenager with a slingshot and is genuinely insulted. "Am I a dog?" "Buddy, you're about to be a rug. 1 stone, forehead, timber." And then, because the Bible does not do half measures, David runs over, pulls out Goliath's own sword, and removes his head with it. The giant's last contribution to the fight is the blade that ends him. David is now nationally famous, which is exactly where his problems begin. David's road to the throne, the fugitive years, speed run, go. The women of Israel throw a victory party and sing, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s." Saul does the math. Saul does not like the math. From this day on, Saul looks at David the way you look at a coworker who got praised in the meeting you organized. Next time David's playing the harp, Saul throws a spear at him, indoors, as a hint. David dodges, which in royal court terms means the job interview is over. So Saul tries the sneaky route. "Marry my daughter Michal. The dowry is 100 dead Philistines." He's hoping the Philistines do his dirty work. David comes back with 200, overachiever. Saul now has a son-in-law he's actively trying to murder. Thanksgiving is tense. Saul sends assassins to David's house. Michal lowers David out a window in the dark and stuffs a household idol in the bed to buy time. The world's first, he's sleeping, come back later. David runs. He's not walking into the palace to seize the throne he was promised. He's climbing out a window, remember that. David finds his best friend, Jonathan, Saul's own son and the actual heir. And here's the twist. Jonathan doesn't want the throne either. He helps David escape his own father, warns him with a code of arrows, and basically says, "It's you, man. It was always you." The rightful prince is Team David. On the run and starving, David stops at the town of Nob and talks a priest into giving him the only bread available, the holy showbread, and the only weapon lying around, which happens to be Goliath's sword, full circle. The giant is still arming him from beyond the grave. Then David makes a questionable career move. He flees to Gath, Goliath's hometown, where he's immediately recognized as the guy who killed their local celebrity. So David improvises. He pretends to be completely insane, scribbling on the city gates, drooling into his own beard, until the king of Gath goes, "Do I not have enough lunatics? Get him out of here." The future king faked madness to survive. David escapes to a cave called Adullam, and something starts happening. People show up. Everyone in debt, everyone in distress, everyone the system chewed up, 400 of them, gather around him. David didn't recruit an army. He became the guy the desperate rallied to. That's the whole story in one image. Now, the two moments that define him. Saul is chasing David through the desert with 3,000 men, and Saul, I promise this is in the Bible, walks into a cave to use the bathroom, the exact cave David is hiding in. David's men whisper, "This is it. God delivered him to you. Do it." David creeps up behind the defenseless king, who's been trying to kill him for years, and cuts off a corner of his robe. That's it. Then he steps out and shouts across the valley, "I could have killed you. Here's the proof. I didn't." Saul weeps, admits, "You're more righteous than I am. You will surely be king." And then, because Saul's remorse has the shelf life of warm milk, he goes right back to hunting him. So it happens again. This time David sneaks into Saul's camp at night while the whole army sleeps, walks up to Saul's pillow, and takes his spear and his water jug. Doesn't take his life, takes his stuff. Then yells the world's most passive-aggressive good morning from the next hill over. "Hey, notice anything missing? Great security you've got." Twice David could have fast-forwarded straight to the throne. Twice he refused, because he wouldn't take the crown by killing God's anointed king. He'd rather wait 15 years than grab it dirty. Meanwhile, there's a rich fool named Nabal who insults David and nearly gets his whole household wiped out, until his brilliant wife Abigail intercepts David with an apology tour and a mobile buffet. Nabal hears about it, has a heart attack on the spot, and David marries Abigail. The desert is eventful. Eventually, the walls close in. Saul goes to a literal witch to summon the ghost of the dead prophet Samuel for advice. A low point that even the narrator finds impressive. And the ghost basically says, "Tomorrow. It's over." And it is. On Mount Gilboa, the Philistines overrun Saul's army. His sons die must, including Jonathan. Saul, wounded and surrounded, falls on his own sword. The man who hunted David for 15 years is gone. And here's your final test of who David is, when a messenger runs up claiming he finished Saul off, expecting a reward. David has him executed, and then writes a lament for Saul and Jonathan. How the mighty have fallen. He doesn't celebrate. He grieves the man who threw spears at him. And now, finally, David becomes king. Sort of. The tribe of Judah crowns him in Hebron, but the rest of Israel props up Saul's surviving son instead, and there's a slow, grinding civil war for years before the whole nation finally comes around. Then it's official. David is 30 years old. He'll reign 40 years total, 7.5 in Hebron, 33 in Jerusalem, king over all Israel. But sit with the actual shape of this story. A kid gets promised a crown, and then spends his entire youth as a fugitive, hiding in caves, sparing the very man keeping him from the throne. The lesson buried in there isn't, and then he won. It's that David became the kind of man who could hold power, precisely because he spent 15 years refusing to seize it. The waiting wasn't the delay before the story. The waiting was the story. So the shepherd finally got his throne. Subscribe for the rest of the stories your Sunday school flannel graph quietly skipped.